Hey, Panda! This is the part where you're supposed to say, hey, Senda. Okay. You know what? It's fine. We'll just come back to this. No worries. It's all good. And welcome to another episode of Panda's Talking Games. I am one of your hosts, Senda, and this is my co-host, Pandi, who is standing in for us tonight for Phil, because he's been working a lot, like a bunch of 12 to 14 hour days. So we didn't record a new episode for you this week, but it's fine because I've got my guest host, Pandi. Pandi's going to stand in for Phil, and we're going to have a little chit-chat episode, and it's going to be great. Right, Pandi? You know, you're going to have to talk if this is going to work. It's just a thing. Okay, so moving right along. For tonight, we're going to start off the way that we usually do for a chit-chat episode, which is we're going to talk about something that is giving us life in gaming right now. And Pandi is stuffed and has really soft, adorable fur and little heart print paw prints. So I thought that he might have a different perspective than we usually get on this show because we're usually, flesh and blood people talking about this kind of thing. So I'm really interested to see what's kind of giving Pandi life through this pandemic in his gaming. Or I'll start, and that's fine. That's totally fine. So I have been writing letters. We've just started a letter writing game that I've talked about a little bit before in some previous episodes. And what's giving me life right now is that the way that the letters work, we get these physical game artifacts again. And it's really funny because I've spent a lot of time playing online in the last 5 years with She's a Super Geek and that sort of thing, right? And so a lot of the artifacts that I get from games right now are not tangible things, right? And it used to be like when we played D&D and Pathfinder and stuff, I would get a lot of tangible stuff, or we would play with tangible things, right? We would have a map on a table, or we might have, physical pieces of paper and that kind of stuff that we were working with as props. And I haven't had a lot of that in like recent game experience time, and I didn't realize how much I missed it. And so now we're writing letters to each other in my game group as characters, as sort of an ongoing like character story thing, and it's delightful because I have these letters, and sometimes they have more in the envelope than just a letter, like they have a little something else in there, and it's really, really cool, and I'm super duper into it and slightly obsessive, which is also fine, and it also means that I've suddenly become very interested in stationery, and especially stationery from the perspective of like, what stationery would my character use? Would she have a wax seal? What would she make this look like? How does she sign her letters since she doesn't actually write them because she doesn't have opposable thumbs? Right. So it's delightful. So I have suddenly been on a minor spree of picking up things like wax seals. I designed my own stationery for my character, and I got it printed on nice paper and cut and everything, which surprisingly, like, as long as you just want half sheet pages, like, I got a bunch of them printed nicely and cut and everything for me at Office Depot for like $7. So like, I was pleased that it wasn't a massive investment on my part. And it's been really cool. And I'm just really excited to keep using that stationery and all of those things and like discovering what that story is like. Very different than play by post because you're just reliant on the mail and you really never know when you're going to get a new thing back. So yeah, it's really fun and cool. And I would highly recommend, like, now is a great time to be writing letters to each other because you can both support the post office. And you can be getting these really cool physical objects that are artifacts of this like story that you're telling with other people. But it's interesting because you only get to keep the parts that you have, right? But somebody else has the bits that you're sending them. Oh, it's neat. I like it. I'm really into the physical game artifact part of letter writing right now is something that I'm really excited about. So Pandy, what do you think? You know, on second thought, this is like not working because he's just stuffed. So, you know, maybe we'll just try again next week. But thanks for listening, everyone. If you want to support the show, and hopefully both of us being on the air next time, you can give us a follow on Twitter at Pandas Talk Games, or you can drop by the Misdirected Mark forums, which is forums@misdirectedmark.com. And if you want to drop us a topic for a time that I'm not having a conversation with a stuffed animal, you can drop us an email, panda@misdirectedmark.com, or find us in any of those other places. You can find us on the Misdirected Mark Patreon. It is patreon.com/MMP, and that helps support our server costs and all of those fun things. And also cool things drop in there like the outtakes. There won't be bonus outtakes for this show. I'm looking at you, Pandy. I really don't feel like you've upheld your end of the bargain here. Like, we had a deal. This is not. Anyway, moving right along. You could also leave us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or the podcatcher of your choice. Every new review we get really does actually help new people find the show. And my goodness, if this was the first show of ours that you ever heard, well, I would highly recommend going back and finding a show that has numbers. Like real numbers, like in the 200s or before that, where we really truly talk about things instead of me having a 10-minute conversation with a stuffed panda bear. Yeah, so Pandy, tell me how you're going to run your next game with those tiny, tiny little arms.
Show me what you got. 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 Show me what you got.
This show is a joint production of She's a Super Geek and Misdirected Mark Productions, the media arm of Encoded Designs.
Show me what you got. 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 Show me what you got.
Bloop. Do 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 do. Bloop. What else do we normally talk about at the end of the show? You would think I would know this by now, but I'm not going to edit this because that would be too easy.